Okay, we left off. I'm not sure what my son did. I want to go back to is 285 in the Ramah. Review a little bit of Chulin here. Okay, the Ramah said on 284 that the oil or the candle that's designated and was used for Ner Chanukah, it's called Huktzah Mitzvah. Can't be used for anything else. Right? It was lit. Let's say you lit it, and it would go out before half an hour. So that oil, that candle, definitely cannot be used for ordinary usage. Right? We had earlier was a question if you put in more than a half an hour's worth of oil, and you didn't designate it specifically saying it's only a half an hour's worth of oil should be for the mitzvah. If you had that in mind specifically, anything that's beyond a half an hour is ordinary oil. Is ordinary. But if you did not say that specifically, just had in mind open, let just continue burning, then all the oil, according to one opinion, is huktzah mitzvah. Since it was designated for mitzvah and it was used as a mitzvah, burned to get as that, it can't be used for anything else. But let's say, make it simple, it went out before a half an hour. So half an hour's worth of oil. Now this oil mixes into other oil. Or the candle mixes with other candle. You can't identify that original candle, which was the Hanukkah candle, which you're not permitted to use for anything else. Do we say bittul barov? Don't we say bittul barov? So the Ramah says, in the Sarif Chanukah, Ner Chanukah, B'hano, Ha'osa B'hano, B'shan Neros. The Hanukkah candle, which you're not permitted to benefit from, right? Osa Lishtamish Loran, mixes with other candles. Afil Echad Be'elef, Lo Botil. Even 1 in 1,000 is not subsumed. So the Ramah says, why? What is the reason? David Dov Shebeminyon. See, it makes a big difference. If you learn, as we said, or as the Ramah says, oil is not a Dov Shebeminyon. We said on the Torah level, everything's subsumed. Majority versus minority, majority subsumes minority. Rabbinically, now, what is the rationale why majority subsumes minority? Because in terms of value, minority versus minority, it's negated by the majority if the minority cannot be identified. So it's negated. That's why the majority subsumes the minority. What about if despite the volume, the quantity, the minority has a certain level of identity, the uniqueness? It could be unique because it's counted individually. It's unique because that's the way it has a certain natural characteristic or character. Or people, when you honor a person, you honor him with that portion at a formal meal. That's its value. So all these various, rabbinically, it's not going to be subsumed. So the Ramah says, Davashab Minyan. Since candles are sold individually, so even though volume-wise you have many more candles that you're permitted to benefit, versus the one candle, the majority does not subsume the minority. That's the Ramah. That's Davashab Minyan. Something that's counted. Ela yadlik min atarvuvus kol kach. Shebevaring ner shel heter dolik im ner shel liser. So what do? You could use all the candles, but it won't be worse than the shamas. You take candles, and you have enough other candles burning that it should not be considered that you're benefiting from that one candle. So you're not benefiting. V'oz muter l'shtam shetzlon. So therefore you could use the light now. Use the candles for yourself, even though one of the candles that's burning among those candles may be that one Hanukkah candle. But factually, that's not considered you benefiting from its light because you have other candles burning simultaneously alongside that one candle, wherever that candle may be. That's the Ramah. That's what you should do. Okay? Let's see the Mishna Berura on this. We really should have done before. Let's see the Mechaber from the beginning over here. We're going back to 283. Yeah. Then he says, why on Shabbos are you permitted to use fuels or oils that don't burn well? Because normally, if it's regular Shabbos candles where its value is for illumination concern, if it doesn't burn well, you may start manipulating the wick, the fuel, or whatever it may be. But since Ner Chanukah, you're not permitted to use it for personal benefit, so you won't go near the candle. Burns well, doesn't burn well, it's totally irrelevant. So he says, what are you not permitted to use the light of the Hanukkah lights for? So he says, "Afil livdok mos or limnos in laora osur." Next to the last line, even something, a type of usage which is inconsequential, not really important, doesn't have special value, such as counting money. You just need a little bit of light to discern or to count between one denomination versus another denomination. You're not permitted. Va'afil tashma shel kedusha. What about something which is a usage which is a mitzvah? You go limud lora, you want to study. You want to take a sefer, go to the light, read by that light. Osir, you're not permitted. That's called using the light. That light is designated specifically. What's the rationale? You can't say because it's hooked to the mitzvah, using it for mitzvah. The whole idea over because it has this other element. Why is it also l'shtam shlora? Because if you use it for personal usage, even maybe a mitzvah usage, it detracts from its value. The whole idea is pesumi nisa. The light itself, its value is to publicize the miracle. But if you use it for any usage, it could be a mitzvah usage, immediately it's detracting from its representation. Its representation is supposed to be pesumi nisa of Chanukah. Says, I lit the light to study by the light. That's what people will say. Therefore, because it diminishes from its innate value, even for mitzvah tashma shel kedusha, a mitzvah usage, you're not permitted. That's the position of the first position. The one who says you can use it for a davar shel kedusha says, no, that's not the reason. It's not because it detracts from the pesumi nisa, because it's designated for a mitzvah, it cannot be used for ordinary usage. So since studying Torah is not ordinary usage, therefore you could learn by the candlelight, even though it's Ner Chanukah. V'yesh mi shemati b'tashma shel kedusha. Okay, but it's a secondary opinion. We don't differentiate. We rule halacha that even tashma shel kedusha you should not read by that candlelight. Exactly. Well, it depends. We just explained. Is it detracting to pesumi nisa? If it's detracting to pesumi nisa, we don't differentiate whether it's kedusha or not kedusha. But if the reason is it's not respectful, so then you should be able to study, right? And that's the basis of the second opinion. But he only brings that as a secondary opinion. Therefore, one doesn't even study by the light of Hanukkah lights. And you have specifically in mind that you want it to burn only half an hour. If it burns long, it's okay. Beyond the half an hour, correct. He says, however, this is the shamas. We add an additional candle. Because factually, if you will use the light, it should be attributed which light are you using. Use that additional light. You're not benefiting from what? From the other lights. You should put it in the position a little further away that it shouldn't be seen as that additional candle is part of the candles that you're lighting for Hanukkah. Otherwise it becomes confusing. It may be viewed as what? As one of the nights of what? It's the second night, you have a third candle there. People won't see it as a shamas, they'll see it as what? As one of the candles. So I said, where we are, there's a setup, it's never a problem. And one time they would actually just paste it on the windowsill or on a tray. But today that it's elevated, it's a higher level, it's just obvious from the order and the elevation that it's not one of the candles. No, this is not benefit. Now we say they should not be on the same level. This isn't because they're benefiting from the light. That's not the reason. This is we're introducing a new issue. So you add the extra, so you should not benefit from the lights of the Hanukkah candles. So it should be attributed, you're benefiting from that additional light. Okay. No. Wait, no, no. Again, many issues. Firstly, not you don't always light with the shamas. You don't always light with the shamas. When he's speaking about adding the additional light, it's not because you light with it. For instance, if you have an oil menorah, you have a shamas, you have that additional light, which you don't light from that light, correct? Because there's oil in a wick. You have a regular wax candle that you light with. What do you do when you finish lighting? You put it out. But you have that additional candle, oil candle burning. Correct? Why do you have that additional oil candle burning? So that's what the Mechaber, the Shulchan Aruch is saying. Because if you should use the light or benefit from the light, it will be attributed that you benefited from that light, not from the other lights. Why? Why is it so hard to understand? No, we're not saying you should. If, in fact, you should, we're talking about we're saying even something inconsequential. You don't need a great amount of light to discern between the denomination of one bill and another bill, one coin and another coin. And you just use the light to glance to see the difference. You don't need a greater amount of light for that. You need just a minimum amount of light. So for that inconsequential usage, they'll attribute that to the additional light. That's what they will attribute it to. For that reason. No. Because because if you should benefit, what are people going to say? We said the two aspects. People say you're not benefiting from the Hanukkah lights, you're benefiting from that light. They're both. There's a representation of pursuing Isa. Using the light, benefiting like that detracts from the pursuing Isa. Therefore, that is the primary opinion. So it doesn't make a difference for Dovishim Kedusha or not Dovishim Kedusha. You're not permitted to use it, period. And that is the primary position. But let's say you have the additional light. And if you do, so what are people going to say? So the candles retain that representation of pursuing Isa. Because they'll attribute the benefit to that additional candle. So therefore, it will not be a detraction. Or Shiv Zechariah Rochi, and he had a relationship with Rameh Simcha Dvinsk. So Rameh Simcha Dvinsk, it was known, he was like, at mind and understanding, he was like way up there, as in the hierarchy of Torah leaders. This is, in the early part of the 19th century. Rameh Simcha Dvinsk. And it was interesting, he was in Dvinsk, there was a question, Rabbi Yitzhak Chonan passed away. Yitzhak Chonan Spector, he was known as the Kovner Rav. So it was the most prominent position, and they had to fill it. So the question, what were they going to take? So Rameh Simcha was a candidate to become the Kovner Rav. Kovner Rav. But they chose somebody else who wasn't as great as Rameh Simcha. He was known as, his name was Rabbi Shapiro. Avram Dov Kana Shapiro. That's what his name was. Rabbi Shapiro, he was the Rosh Yeshiva in Merkaz Arav in Israel. He was a grandson of that person. And, but it was a little bit of a tremendous slight for Rabbi Yisrael. Why? Because Kovna was the type of community, you had to have a certain degree of social grace to interact with the people. To be a Rav, it wasn't just enough to teach Torah and to give halachic rulings. There was a certain interaction, social interaction you had to have. Meir Simcha, he was only Torah. He didn't have that in his personality. It wasn't there. The person, the Kovner Rav, the one who received the position, although in Torah he wasn't as great, although he's great, but he had that additional feature. Therefore, so they had to say, to explain to Kovner Rav, to Meir Simcha, why he wasn't taken. Why he wasn't taken? No. Why he wasn't chosen to be the Kovner Rav. So they said to him, the Gemara says in Psochim, says that a Talmud Chochem has to be careful the way he interacts with Amoratzim. What's an Amoritz? Time of the Gemara, an Amoritz was a person where it was a separate sect. And really, the Gemara says Rabbi Akiva, before he became Rabbi Akiva, he was part of the sect called Amoritz. he says his animosity towards the Talmud Chacham was such that he had such hate that if he would bite them, it would be dishichas chamor. It would be like a donkey biting someone. What's a donkey? Any other animal bites, it's a flesh wound. When a donkey bites, it's through the flesh and breaks the bone. It would be with such intensity. That's the intensity of dislike that he would have for a Talmud Chacham. So Mer says there that a Talmud Chacham, even if he has a relationship, he has to stay slightly aloof, because if there's any degree of familiarity or where the Amoritz feels he becomes your peer, ultimately it'll have negative consequences. So therefore, the Talmud Chacham should act like a Kli Zov. How often do you use a golden vessel? They're only of very special occasions, and also because of its innate value, you're concerned it may be damaged. So only on special occasions to use the gold vessel. What about a silver vessel? Right? Doesn't have the value of gold. Use it more often. Therefore, it gets banged up a little bit. You have dents on a silver cup, silver vessel. What about earthenware vessel? You use it till it becomes fully saturated with whatever it was used for. And what do you do with it? You throw it in the trash heap. So he says that's what happens. If the Talmud Chacham allows himself to be too involved on a pure level with the Amoritz, ultimately you'll be thrown into the trash heap. So they said, you're the Kli Zov. You're the golden vessel. People can't appreciate who you really are. And because they can't appreciate who you are, they're not going to say because he doesn't have that feature, that ability to interact with people, the social aspect. The gold vessel, so they're not going to appreciate who you are. So with time, they're not going to be able to cull from you and draw from you who you really are. Therefore, something, this other person being less of a level, he's not the gold, he's the silver vessel. He'll get all beaten up, but it's okay. That's how they explained it to Rameir Simcha, why he wasn't chosen to be the Kovner Rav. He was okay with it. It's okay. He remained in Dvinsk till he passed away. Okay, let's see the Mishna Berura. Okay, we have to do the Chos Lavalos.
The one was mentioned about the Kusari Gedus down by Amaretz at that time, that like we couldn't even understand what the level was.
Is the Amoritz of the Gemara, not then.
Right? But when the Gemara gives that example with Rabbi Akiva and whatnot, it's speaking about those Amaretz.
That was time in the Nevi'im. This is going back 700-800 years before Rabbi Akiva, 1,000 years before Rabbi Akiva.
So that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's. It was on Lower East Side. They had shuls. They had shuls on the Lower East Side. So I remember, who was the president of the shul? The guy was a plumber, a butcher. They weren't even observant people, many of them, but they had money. Plumber, an electrician. They didn't call him a contract. Electrician, a plumber, whatever it was. And I remember there was a shul there, maybe had 25 people. It was on Henry Street. And the rabbi they paid him, I think, $20 a week. During the week, he was a Rebbe in Torah Vadas. He himself was a Talmud of Baruch Ber. And I remember, and in those days, minyanim together, people moved out. They would join together many different shuls. So one shul could be comprised of like 3 different chevras. They used to call chevras. They would join together. And I remember the plumber, who was the president, says to the rabbi, this man Lushas was a Talmud of Baruch Ber, was a Rebbe in Torah Vadas. He says, make sure the Shabbos toilet paper is in the bathroom. This is what he tells the rabbi. Go to the bathroom, make sure the Shabbos toilet paper is in the bathroom. You understand what we're talking about over here? But I pay you $20 a week. I can tell you whatever it is. And I understand you can't fix the plumbing because you're not a plumber. Okay, but the Shabbos paper, that you could change. Make sure it's full. Okay.